A 65-year-old billionaire shocked the world when he married a quiet black janitor everyone ignored. His wealthy children called her a gold digger. His friends laughed. The wedding guests expected the marriage to end in humiliation. But when the bride stood up to give her final wedding speech, every smile disappeared. By the time she finished, the billionaire's entire family was crying, and one hidden truth changed their lives forever. Stay until the end, because this unforgettable true-to-life story carries a lesson every family needs to hear. At 65, billionaire William Carter owned luxury hotels, private jets, and beautiful homes across the world. Yet every evening he returned to an empty mansion where silence greeted him instead of love. After losing his wife years earlier, success no longer brought happiness. Wealth had filled his bank account but left an emptiness in his heart that no amount of money could replace. One rainy morning, William visited one of his oldest office buildings without informing anyone. While walking through the quiet hallway, he noticed a middle-aged black janitor carefully helping an elderly visitor who had slipped on the wet floor. She comforted the frightened woman with kindness before quietly returning to her work, expecting nothing in return. Her name was Grace Johnson. She lived in a small apartment, worked 2 cleaning jobs, and spent weekends serving meals at a homeless shelter. Despite facing hardship throughout her life, she smiled warmly at everyone she met. She believed that kindness was the richest gift anyone could give, even when life seemed unfair. William watched Grace for several weeks without revealing who he truly was. Every day she treated executives, cleaners, security guards, and visitors with exactly the same respect. Unlike many people surrounding his wealth, Grace never changed her behavior based on someone's status or appearance. Her character quietly captured his attention. One afternoon, William introduced himself while Grace was finishing her shift. She politely shook his hand without recognizing him as the company's billionaire owner. Their conversation lasted only 15 minutes, but William felt more peace during that short meeting than he had experienced in years of expensive parties and business celebrations. Over the next few months, William found reasons to visit the office more often. Instead of discussing business, he spent time talking with Grace during her lunch breaks. They spoke about family, faith, loss, and hope. Grace never asked about his fortune or success. She simply listened with genuine compassion, making William feel valued as a person rather than a billionaire. One evening, William quietly visited the homeless shelter where Grace volunteered. Hidden among the volunteers, he watched her serve food, comfort frightened children, and sit beside lonely elderly people who had no family. She treated every stranger with dignity. At that moment, William realized she possessed something money could never buy, a heart full of unconditional love. After several months of friendship, William finally revealed that he owned the company where Grace worked. She stood silently for a moment before smiling. "Your title doesn't change who you are," she softly replied. Instead of becoming impressed by his wealth, she continued speaking to him exactly as she always had, with honesty, kindness, and respect. Their friendship soon attracted unwanted attention. Office employees whispered behind Grace's back. Some claimed she was chasing the billionaire's fortune. Others laughed, believing a janitor could never belong in William's world. Grace heard every cruel comment but never answered with anger. She simply continued working hard, believing that character always speaks louder than rumors. William invited Grace to dinner at a quiet countryside restaurant. Instead of luxury or expensive gifts, they shared stories about childhood dreams, painful memories, and second chances. Before the evening ended, William gently admitted something that surprised even himself. "I haven't felt truly alive until I met you." Grace's eyes filled with quiet emotion. Weeks later, William asked Grace to marry him. She was speechless. She wasn't afraid of becoming his wife. She was afraid of becoming the target of endless judgment. Looking into William's eyes, she asked only one question. "If the world turns against us, will you still stand beside me?" William answered without hesitation, every single day. When the engagement became public, headlines exploded across the world. Television shows debated the relationship. Social media filled with insults, jokes, and false accusations. Some called Grace a gold digger, while others mocked William for marrying a janitor. Neither of them responded. They chose silence instead of defending themselves to strangers. William's oldest son, Daniel, was furious. He believed Grace was manipulating his father for the family fortune. During a family dinner, he demanded that William cancel the wedding immediately. His sister Emily agreed, embarrassed by what friends and business partners were saying. Their father's happiness mattered less to them than protecting the family's reputation. Grace overheard part of the argument while visiting the mansion. Quietly leaving before anyone noticed, she drove home with tears in her eyes. She wondered if love was worth destroying a family. That night she prayed for wisdom, asking God not for wealth or acceptance, but for the strength to do what was right. The next morning William visited Grace with flowers. Before he could apologize, Grace gently smiled. "Your children are hurting because they're afraid of losing you," she said. William was stunned. Instead of blaming his family for their cruelty, Grace understood their fear. Her compassion made William love her even more. As the wedding day approached, William's children secretly met with lawyers, convinced Grace would demand control of the family fortune after the marriage. Instead, Grace quietly signed a prenuptial agreement prepared by William's legal team without changing a single line. She asked for nothing except the chance to build an honest life with the man she loved. When Daniel learned Grace had willingly signed the agreement, he was confused. He had expected an argument, not complete acceptance. Still, suspicion filled his heart. "She's pretending," he whispered to Emily. Neither of them understood that Grace had never dreamed about becoming rich. She had only dreamed about belonging to a family that loved one another. The morning of the wedding arrived beneath clear blue skies. Reporters gathered outside the historic chapel, hoping to capture controversy instead of love. Guests from around the world filled the pews. Some came to celebrate. Others came expecting embarrassment. Grace stepped from her car wearing a simple, elegant white gown, smiling with quiet confidence. Inside the chapel, whispers echoed through the room. Some guests stared at Grace's past instead of her character. Others questioned why one of the world's wealthiest men would marry someone who cleaned office floors for a living. Grace heard every whisper but walked forward with dignity, refusing to let judgment steal her peace. As Grace reached the altar, William's eyes filled with tears. He didn't see a janitor standing before him. He saw a woman whose kindness had healed years of loneliness. Holding her hands gently, he whispered, "You gave me hope when I believed my heart had nothing left to give." The ceremony was beautiful, but tension remained. Daniel and Emily barely smiled throughout the vows. They believed their father had made the biggest mistake of his life. After the minister announced them husband and wife, everyone applauded politely, unaware that the most unforgettable moment of the day was still waiting. During the reception, William invited Grace to give a few words before dinner. Many guests expected a simple thank you speech. Some quietly predicted she would praise William's wealth and luxurious lifestyle. Grace slowly stood before the microphone, took a deep breath, and looked around the room with calm, loving eyes. "My name is Grace," she began softly. "For many years, people noticed only the cleaning cart beside me. Very few noticed the woman pushing it. Today, I wear a wedding dress instead of a work uniform, but I am exactly the same person I was yesterday." Clothes never change the value of a human soul. She turned toward William's children. "Daniel, Emily, I understand why you feared me. If someone suddenly entered my father's life after years of loneliness, I might have been afraid too. Fear often speaks louder than love. I don't blame either of you for protecting the man you cherish." Grace reached into her purse and held up a sealed envelope. "Before today, William offered me homes, investments, and expensive gifts. I accepted none of them. Inside this envelope are legal papers giving away every financial benefit I could ever receive from this marriage. I never came here searching for money." The ballroom fell completely silent. Guests stared in disbelief. William himself had never seen those documents before. Grace continued, "The greatest gift your father has ever given me isn't his fortune. It's his respect. After years of being overlooked, he looked into my eyes and saw my heart." Tears rolled down Daniel's face as he realized how deeply he had judged Grace without knowing her. Emily quietly covered her mouth, overwhelmed with guilt. They remembered every cruel word, every accusation, and every cold glance they had directed toward the woman now standing before them with nothing but love, Grace smiled gently through her own tears. If you truly wish to honor your father's happiness, don't remember me as the janitor who married a billionaire. Remember me as the woman who believes every person deserves dignity, whether they wear a business suit or carry a mop. Love begins where pride ends. Daniel slowly walked across the ballroom and embraced Grace. Emily joined them moments later, crying openly. One by one, family members and guests rose to their feet in a long standing ovation. The applause lasted several minutes, not because of wealth or status, but because genuine humility had touched every heart. Months later, William's family established the Grace Foundation, supporting education, job training, and housing for hardworking people facing financial hardship. Grace continued volunteering at shelters, proving that marriage had not changed her humble spirit. William often said, "The greatest investment I ever made wasn't in a business, it was in a kind heart." Their story reminded the world that true wealth is measured not by what we own, but by the love, compassion, and respect we give to others. Never judge someone by their job, appearance, or background. Real character is revealed through kindness, humility, forgiveness, and love. Money can build a fortune, but only compassion can build a family.